the next screen, is that the union finds out about the survey. Now, this human resources manager has been responsible for layoffs in the past, so there's pretty bad blood between him and the union. Union considers the survey maybe a precursor to more redundancies, and so what happens is essentially the union gets pretty toey. They leak it to the press. The press raises the spectre of redundancies in the local paper. Head management gets involved. It ends up that the human resources manager essentially has to apologise to all the staff and almost gets sacked. So it's a little story of woe, if you like, as how a seemingly innocuous survey or what he would consider fairly harmless actually had ramifications, largely because of the sensitivities of other people, which of course is something that ethics is designed to try and minimise. So students have to work through this. Now, as I said, all the way through, they're interrupted and they've got to think about what they need to. They need to think about various aspects that of the ethical dimension of the scenario. They need to answer questions. They get immediate feedback, so that is really just all formative assessment as they move through the scenario. At the end of the scenario, they're required to write a report for the COE of Aquarius Holdings, that's a fictitious company, suggesting the actions that should be taken to prevent any similar events happening in the future. Okay, so they've got to think about that and write a report. That report's quite large. It's worth 30% of their final grade. So again, it's another example of scenario where a report's needed. Prior to this year, it was assessed a little differently. It was assessed using discussion forums. So people actually had to discuss some of the implications of the ethical dimensions of the story. And the assessment was a lot smaller. But this year, they've decided to move to a much larger report. So again, that's an example of a different sort of scenario. Essentially, that's pretty linear, storyboarded type of scenario that students would follow through answering questions as they go. So anyone got any comments about that? Jane?
Hi, Terry.
Yes.
So actually,
Yeah, hi,
the question related to the vet surgery scenario that you had there.
Sure.
That was a summative assessment, was it?
Yes, that was all summative assessment. So the students would do 1 or 2 practice scenarios before the exam to get them used to the interface, and so they know what to expect. And I mean, the literature shows that this is a good idea with this type of thing because, again, it decreases the cognitive load if they're familiar with the system. So they had a few of those, and then 3-hour exam, like a final examination, except instead of writing in the blue book, they had to go through these 3 scenarios.
I'm just wondering, Terry, did they sit that exam in a computer lab synchronously, or were they off-site doing it asynchronously?
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a good question. They were all on-site, and they did it in a computer lab. So they're all in one room, and there were exam adjudicators there. So they were monitored. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I've shown you the three examples that I had. It's getting on to 7:46 here in New Zealand. Maybe it's a good opportunity now to perhaps open it up for comments. I've got a 4th one, but I think at this stage it's probably worth perhaps just having some discussion around this area. So, has anyone got any points they want to raise, or anything else they want to say?
That's all good.
Just your name is so long here.
Yeah, that's right. I was just thinking about what you could say about improvements you see as you move kind of through the formative stages into the summative and the sort of feed forward that you give. So are you seeing quite good student improvements from these sort of early test scenarios into the kind of later ones?
Do you mean with the scenarios generally or with, say, specific ones like the vet one?
No, I think just thinking back over everything you talked about, and several times you've mentioned sort of starting off with smaller scenarios, I think, and progressing through to more complex, sort of substantial formative. And I was just interested in what you've seen in terms of student gains and their kind of willingness to take on feedback around that kind of learning.
Yeah. Well, when I first started to introduce this type of teaching, I was pretty green in the way that you would do it. I hadn't read much of the educational papers. We're talking a few years ago now, and so I experimented a bit. But certainly I've found over time, as I've tried various things out, that you get a much better response and the students seem to do much better if they do start with a sort of practice summative type experience to get them used to the process, to get them used to the interface, used to the lesson. One of the things that's made a big improvement is having model answers and a really clear rubric of what you expect them to do. I found that really beneficial. So I suppose the answer is yes. Certainly, the first time I started to use this 20 years ago, I mean, the tools were a lot cruder then, but I tended to just throw them into the deep end, at least with my own teaching. Here you are, you're a consultant, just go and do it. And I found that some of them struggled a bit with that, and it wasn't just the interface. Even though they'd had lectures, they still found it quite difficult. And I found in having these practice ones, these summative ones, it's a lot of value.
Great, thanks, Jeff.
Well,
Kelly, would you like to take
Kelly,
the
yes.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me? I haven't used audio with Wimber before. Yes?
Yes, I can hear you, Kelly.
Okay. I see that Lorraine asked about the marking as well. I wondered how long it took you to look at the path that students take through the scenarios, and whether you factor that into the overall mark in addition to the report for your orchard scenario, and whether you look at the reflections that they type in and how long that takes you and how many students you're working with.
Right. Well, good question. With my orchard scenarios, I'm working with just a small number of students. So we're talking about, I've got two classes, one's a distance class and one's a internal class, and they have about 12 students each, so it's quite a small group. I don't use the pathways for them. What I tend to do is just expect them to submit a report. And so the grading or the marking is not so much on the approach. In fact, that's even true with my diagnostic ones. They can go through it as many times as they like. They can try everything if they want to. Essentially, what I want from them is an assessment of the situation and what, say, a grower would do now. So that's how I assess them. I know with the vet one, our vet lecturer does look at the pathways, and he is actually looking to assess the pathway or the approach of these students.